you don't have the ability to vet if you're on a live platform. But I get what you're saying. Like, you don't have to.
And we can't hold that against her, especially if it's not her norm,
Right. Well, you can't repost. I understand like the reposting and stuff like that. Like, it makes it available to get constant views. But like Shantae says, those views bring income because people are going to look at it and be like, oh gosh, really? Look at this woman, right? Like, it generates dollars. Now, but I think that we probably should be more controlling of what we're exploiting for dollars.
So we're just slave to the dollar, basically.
My question is, because I know a lot of like men in these platforms talk about women holding other women accountable. So I guess my question to you, just because I find it difficult to be able to hold somebody like that accountable because they're not in my space. They're not in my circle. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily interact. So in that regard, like, how do you hold women, since that's our focus today, how do you hold women accountable for things like that or behaviors like that when you yourself don't engage, so therefore you're not even around that?
Well, let me just tell you this. So when it comes to social media, if you like a video, if you watch a video several times, those are views, so you're indirectly supporting it. I don't think that you're meaning to, but you're indirectly supporting the behavior. And it can be not even Cynthia. If she usually doesn't have this type of stuff, mischief on her platform, I'm not saying do anything to her. What's her name? Kendra. And so I think that, but when you go on to when you're on Instagram and you see that video and it's some ratchet behavior, just pass through it. Don't like it. Don't do anything, because every time you like something, even if it's funny, every time you like it, you're pulling it up on an ad. It's going to feed more of it. You understand?
Even if you view it.
Even
if you sit there and watch it, like you said, even if you sit there and watch it, like, that counts as a view. Like, that person gets validated for that view that they watched. But I will say this, because I feel like I have a friend who used to be like, kind of like that woman, but not really, and it was like one of those friends was like, gosh, I gotta let her go, because I just don't understand why she keeps choosing these choices and they don't align with my choices, right?
Birds of a feather flock together, gotta get rid of them.
Yeah, it was kind of like, all right, like, I gotta kind of get rid of you, but I did, like, deep down in my heart feel like she doesn't have anybody else to help her, to show her, to see what the beauty is. And long story short, like, she was able to, like, transform, you know what I'm saying? And she did, like, is she 360?
Maturity.
I mean, it was probably maturity, it was a lot of things that came into place, but it was just like one of those things where I was just like, I'm happy that, because my whole point was, because she was, like, draining me. I felt like, I was like, girl, you're taking a lot of energy from me. But I also feel like a lot of our youth, and because she is younger than me, but she's not that much younger than me, but she is younger than me. But I feel like a lot of our youth don't have, especially if you don't have a parent to tell you what's right and wrong, because I feel like I was blessed. My mom, I have aunts, I have older cousins, I have older friends who are able to tell me, like, what's right and wrong. And I listen, you know what I'm saying? Because I know it's important, but some people don't have that. So I felt like with this friend, I was that, like, I was her only positive influence. And if I just abandoned her, then she would have never saw it. You know what I'm saying? She would have never understood there's a whole nother side to your world that you're looking at over here. Because, boo, like, this world over here, that's chaos. Like, stop going over there. You know what I'm saying?
It's so funny that you said that, the mentoring, because Mistaken and I went to a birthday party the other week. And remember the girl? And I was like, girl, call me. You're doing everything wrong. That dress.
Yeah.
The way
I feel like we have to.
She was just moving so sloppy. And it was just, because she was a beautiful girl. And I felt she could be safe because she was so young.
You told a girl she was moving sloppy.
But sometimes you need to, like, some women need to hear that.
Here's my number. Call me because I'm going to help you out.
She didn't take offense to it. I said,
right.
girl. She
Yeah.
texted me
But Maya, I think you got
some of them
lucky.
you can save and some of them you can't.
Right. I feel like you
I
got
agree.
lucky, Maya, because
That's
I
the
have
reality.
had people in my circle that suck the energy out of you. And it was like a blessing when they were no longer in my circle. It was like a load on your back was taken off, because sometimes you do want to support people so much because you see their potential that it's almost like, okay, if you're not getting it at this point, we are at this age where everybody else that was in our circle has families, married, living, and on their own, and not having to have to have parasitic relationships. And I think it becomes, you got lucky because she was willing to change. She was willing to see, like, you know what, maybe the circle isn't it. And I think that's the challenge with trying to get people to change their mentality. When I go back home, that's the mentality that people have. This is it. I love it here. I'm not going nowhere else. I don't want to travel. There's no world outside of this. And that's that small town living. And then you're like, wait, there's so much more outside of this perimeter. Like, why don't you see it? So it's very similar to that. Like, when it comes to changing who you are, you can tell people to go to therapy. I know someone who's been in therapy and hasn't changed at all because they're not applying it. Like, they don't want to change.
And that's the thing. They have to want to change. And she's probably not in the space, and she probably doesn't have any women in her life that is holding her accountable when it comes to her behavior. So her showcasing herself in that manner, she probably don't think it was nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with how she's moved throughout her life, because no one has told her that this isn't a good look. This is not how you should be behaving out here. So it's like some people don't know, like we said earlier, they don't know they're doing wrong until somebody brings it to their attention. But I think some shit should be obvious.
Let me ask y'all this, because I was watching something and they were like, so I was watching this thing about like how the cops like arrest all the guys, and it was a Meek Mill show, and he was talking about the system and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. And my husband's like, oh, that stuff happen all the time, and I was like, well, I've never been privy to this. So for people who've never been like for us as women, if we never really understood that lifestyle of women who live like that, would that be more beneficial to us, or would that be like hindering that side of the community?
I think that go ahead. Anybody else want to now chime in at the end?
No, go ahead, Shantae. You got it.
Well, I got a little ADD, so that's why I bring myself back. I just wanted to say, I think that I think I kind of understood what Maya was saying, but my head just won't let me answer that question right now. But I think that if the job, I think we have to call it out, but in a tactful way. I think that we have to call it out. Like men say, communication is key. How you communicate with a man means everything. I think when you're communicating with another sister or whatever, it has to come from a genuine place. If you attack, nobody responds well to an attack. But it's all about presentation and how you present it, coming from a genuine place, a place of care, nurturing, to say, hey, you might want, give some suggestions, but in a kind way, some way that they won't feel offended. It's really coming off, like you.
So do you think it's wrong if we are not like addressing women who are wearing bonnets at work? So do you
if we're in person, Shantae does not have those hands. I've never been in a fight before.
Shantae is the purse holder. We know that. Shantae is the purse holder.
I've always held Maya has always, been my girl. I'm like,
so my question is, how do we then call out these behaviors that we're discussing tonight?
Listen, if she wearing that bonnet outside the house, sis can fight. And you hit me, you going to jail.
Listen, you can look at people and know that ain't the fight you want to be in.
Right.
Because people pulling out guns nowadays. Be careful, okay?
So then
but
how
I
do
think
we
the platform, okay, so I think us having this platform is one way to get the message out there and to try to address it and hold women accountable. But if I'm in the airport and I see homegirl walking around, even though I'm like, look at this shit here, I don't feel like getting into a tussle with her about her damn bonnet. Like I said, you hit me and
Ma'am, you can walk up and be like, "Man, I think you forgot to take your bonnet off."
And she go like, "Bah!"
right, you going to jail. You going to
Bitch,
jail.
no, I did not forget to take my bonnet off. I had my bonnet
I know you ain't
off.
talking about.
I was just trying to help.
Listen, you going to jail and you're going to be on the no-fly zone list too. Play with me if you want to.
You know, I think the most we can do,
The
I think if you're around people, just have honest conversation, even with people who are not in your friend group. You know, I have conversations to the people I mentor on a daily basis in my job. So those are conversations that we do have, and they always be like, "Oh, wow," and I'm like, because it's tacky. You don't look right. Because they even come to my room with it on, and I'm like, "No, ma'am, we're not gonna do that today. Take it off." Miss this, I ain't do my hair today. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's
Next
she
time
already
Thank you for educating them,
She's
Shantae.
already in fight mode. She got her hair.
Y'all, I had one who showed up. I kid you
Is
not.
ready just to
She
take the
showed
earrings off and
up
put on
with
Vaseline.
rollers.
Right.
She showed up with rollers in her hair and the bonnet on top. The rollers were so big, the bonnet couldn't even come all the way down. It was just sitting at the top, and you could see the rollers under. And she had the nerve to walk her butt into my space. And I said, I think you thought this was your bedroom. It's not.
She left the house with the bonnet on. She
my gosh.
in a mind frame of it's whatever.
Right, because my mama would have gone up my head if I walked out her house like that. Y'all,
sometimes
like,
parents aren't home when the kids leave. When
but you don't have that fear. You don't have that fear that your mom gonna find out like randomly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why don't kids have that fear in their parents? Like, you know, like that's why I'm like, if my mom would find out that I came up to the school,
they mamas wear bonnets outside.
And when their parents are friends with them instead of parents, like they're trying to that's their best friend. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. They're not that much older than the growing up in that same kind of mindset generation. So they're not correcting certain things that they should be corrected.